Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Mermail Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel today with a deck profile of the deck that I used to take top 8 an Untapped Games sneak peek tournament. It was a full constructed tournament, cut to top 8, where the top 8 people won the beautiful Ignition Assault playmat. Reason I wanted to play in this event, guys, is because it's the very last sneak peek event, and I wanted to try to win the playmat. I ended up going X1 on the day, playing against Paleo, lost to them, and then won out against Zombies, Cosmo, Unchained, and I believe it was one other deck. I might remember it a little bit later. But basically, the Herald of Perfection, I'm running a deck of Heralds, Herald of Perfection pretty much. And this deck, I'm going to say, guys, worked fantastically. It's one of my favorite decks that I've built, and of course, got to have the Herald of Perfection in there. But you know, it worked incredibly well throughout the day, and I'll showcase a lot of the cards that I run. It's probably a different Herald deck than most likely people might be used to seeing, but yeah. So starting things out, guys, I got 3 copies of Herald of Perfection. Now, this is the main card in your deck. And Herald of Perfection is fantastic because it's basically a blanket negate that is not once per turn. So as long as you have any types of fairy monsters in your hand, doesn't matter what type or what attribute they are, you can activate Herald of Perfection's effect when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect to discard 1 card, negate, and destroy that card. And that's not a once per turn effect. So if you load up your hand full of fairies, Herald of Perfection allows you to get a massive number of negates on the board. And this deck is very good at keeping that hand advantage. And of course, since I have the ultimates, I got to run them. Deck's getting a lot of support coming up soon, and it could be a very, very great option. To run with Heralds is the card that I think is best suited for them, and that's 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10, a level 6 monster that, when tributed, allows you to add any fairy type in the entire game from your deck to your hand, which that in and of itself makes it worth running because of all the different types of engines that I have in here. And I'll showcase some of them to you very, very soon. Now, the first engine that I have in here is the Star Seraph engine, which consists of 3 copies of Star Seraph Scepter and 3 copies of Star Seraph Sovereignty. And Stick and Chair are some of the most underrated monsters, I think, at least right now, because of how potent they are as a 3 material rank 4 engine, particularly when it comes to Satellarknight Delteros. You know, making a monster like that. Too bad that Triver requires 3 Satellarknight monsters, otherwise I definitely would run that card. But Star Seraph Scepter and Sovereignty basically combine together with 2 amazing effects. So Scepter can search Sovereignty from your deck to your hand, and then if Sovereignty is in your hand, when you have a Scepter, like you already have a Sovereignty in your hand, you can special summon the Sovereignty to chain to the search of Scepter, and then when it searches, you'll special summon the next Sovereignty. And when Sovereignty is special summoned, even though it can't be used for any material except a 3XYZ material monster, you can use it to draw 1 card from your deck, and if that's a Star Seraph, then you special summon that again. So pretty much the play would be, you normal summon Scepter if you have Sovereignty in your hand, chain to search a Sovereignty, and then chain Sovereignty's effect when you normal summon a Star Seraph, or special summon one to special summon Sovereignty to the field. This one searches, special summons, both Sovereignties trigger, draw you 2 cards, and then you overlay into your XYZ, and Scepter's next effect comes in, which allows you to get a pop and a draw. So you can pop any card on the field and then draw a card, which is really, really great. And this is not Scepter's effect when it's used as an XYZ material. It gives the XYZ monster that effect. And so that actually comes in very, very big handy when you're running a monster like Satellarknight Delteros, which Delteros allows no monsters to get their effects off, basically, when a monster is normal or special summoned. So basically, you summon this on Delteros. This is an effect that activates on summon that Delteros kind of gets as his own effect, and then that effect can go off without responding. And I used this during Game 2 in my Unchained match to pop 2 of the Unchained spell card that were face down, and he couldn't respond to that effect and special summon his Unchained monsters from his deck. So that was huge, huge, huge play, and a big example of why these are such good cards. And of course, they can be searched with Ben 10, so that's just a really fantastic use for them. I'm hoping one day we get Shockmaster back, because that will make things even more fun. Next cards we have, of course, are what I call the Saryuja engine, or your fairy Graveyard Loading Engine, the 3 Shine Balls, and 3 Agent of Creation Venus. Reason you're running 3 Venus is you want to see her, or you want to search her, or whatever. And her effect basically allows you to pay 500 life points any number of times to special summon Mystical Shine Ball from your deck to your deck or hand to the field. So you use Mystical Shine Ball as kind of like a way to link up into different materials. And if you have a Venus, she's a 1-card Saryuja, because she can special summon all 3 of your Shine Balls from the deck, where you should hope that you're not going to be drawing into them. She special summons all 3 of your Shine Balls from the deck. You link your Shine Ball off into a Link Spider, and then you can link your other Shine Ball off into like any other level 1 or whatever, and then link all 4 into Saryuja, get some draws, and then you have 4 fairies in the graveyard as well for Christia later on. So that's the Venus and Shine Ball engine. Next, I am missing 1 copy. I had it on loan, but it was going to be 2 copies of Honest in the deck. Honest is actually very, very fantastic for when you're facing against decks that do not have a lot of negation, or effects, specific effects that activate. Like in Cosmos, for instance, it's beneficial to have Honest on the field, because the monster really can't be targeted by any kinds of effects, like something like Dark Destroyer, for instance. So Honest allows you to kind of push the advantage, and I used this during my match in the Frog Monarchs, or in the Paleo Frogs. But I ended up ultimately losing that game due to a very, very well-sided and hard-drawn Imperial Order. Next card is 1 copy of Manju the 10,000 Hands. Search stuff out of your deck. Pretty self-explanatory. Very, very good for ritual searching. And of course, guys, the deck is going to get a ton better. And then finally, of course, I think this is the MVP. Even more so than Herald was Archlord Christia. Very, very easy to get out either by the effect of Saryuja or by having 4 fairies in your grave. Christia comes out to the field, grabs you an extra fairy back to your hand for an extra Herald negate, and then also prevents all special summons. The number of times this prevented kaijus and stuff from being dropped on me was absolutely insane. You prevent kaijus, you prevent Nibiru, you prevent pretty much any kind of play that could hurt you, and then you just keep pushing for advantage while your Herald's on the field with a negate, and just push forward from there. It's insane, guys. Christia was definitely the MVP on the day, and wouldn't trade it out for anything. Next cards, of course. With Herald, of course, you got to have 3 copies of Dawn of the Herald. And Dawn of the Herald was actually one of the very first non-traditional ritual spells, in the sense that it requires you to have exactly 6 monsters to tribute for its tribute summon. So you can't really do anything else. If you've got a Christia in your hand or something, which did happen when I bricked game 3 against the Paleo player. But you use Dawn of the Herald, and you activate its effect to basically ritual summon. You can ritual summon the Ben 10, for instance, allowing you to resolve the effect to search a fairy. And then Dawn of the Herald can banish itself to add that fairy, one of the monsters you used as a ritual summon, from your graveyard back to your hand. So you use the ritual summon, you grab the fairy, and then you get the Ben 10 back where it can be used in your hand. Very, very strong play. Actually, I did this against the match that I forgot about in the beginning, which was Cyber Dragons, being able to shut him out of most of his plays, because Dawn of the Herald was able to get me 2 more fairies to my hand to act as 2 more negates for Herald. Next, of course, are your Ritual Searchers. Wouldn't be a deck without Pre-Preparation of Rites at 3, guys. Pre-Preparation of Rites came in so handy. And one of the things that I love the most about this card, combined together with Saryuja in the extra deck, is that you can put things back into the deck and then search them. During the Cosmo match that I had, I hard drew into both a Herald and a Dawn of the Herald, and then I used Saryuja's effect to draw 2, place them back in the deck, and then pre-prep both of them at the bottom of my deck out. So very, very good card. Just allows you to speed up your ritual plays like you would not believe, guys. Now, next card I think is the most versatile card in the deck, and that is 3 copies of Prep of Right, the original Prep of Right. Prep of Right is great because it fetches any level 7 or lower ritual monster, which is every ritual monster you run, both the Heralds and the Ben 10. So you can fetch the Ben 10 out of your deck with this card. And the bonus is that if you have a ritual spell in your graveyard, you can add that ritual spell back to your hand as well. That actually came in very handy against Unchained, where I did this play right here, utilizing these 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. Now, these cards, I didn't see them often, but when I did see them, it was very, very game-breaking. Basically, you can discard a spell to add a ritual spell or ritual monster from your deck to your hand. And since all your rituals are fairies, you can get extra bonuses like that, fetch the piece you're missing. But I ended up using Ritual Sanctuary to discard a copy of Dawn of the Herald to search a Ben 10, and then I used Preparation of Rites to fetch the Herald and the ritual spell I just discarded back. So pretty much searching the Ben 10 for free. I've also used Ritual Sanctuary's other effect, allowing you to shuffle back any number of spell cards in your graveyard back into the deck to special summon a monster, a fairy type monster from your graveyard equal to the level, or with level equal to the number of fairy types that you sent back. So very, very good card to have, and came in very handy when I did see it. Of course, we got Called by the Grave, push extra advantage against your opponent. Very self-explanatory card, but also very, very strong. And I use these Called by the Graves in many, many matches to banish key pieces that people needed, to stop hand traps that dropped. It was just fantastic, guys, and you would not believe how often it came in handy. Of course, another card that came in handy is the good old Pot of Desires. Especially great for when you make a big, big field. You can activate Pot of Desires knowing there's nothing left that you need to summon. You just sit on the board, activate Pot of Desires to mill and try and draw into more fairies or other consistency boosting cards. So Pot of Desires was great, and also helps you out with drawing into more stuff that you need. Sometimes it can break you, but most of the times you definitely want to see the card. And then finally, of course, Terraforming. If you bump the honest number up to 2, that brings you to exactly 40 cards in the deck. Now moving on to the extra deck, guys. Starting off, Saryuja's Skuldread, one of the monsters that I went into the absolute most. Saryuja's Skuldread was incredibly, incredibly useful because it just basically allowed me to like fix broken hands and to fix all sorts of other stuff, shuffle things back and get more and more pluses. To top it off, it makes your Herald's defense power 31. It makes Kristia's attack power 31. It boosts up the power of your Delteros to 28 and to your Diamond to like 3,000. Saryuja is great for like the special summoning ability as well, allowing you to get like extra monsters onto the field. My favorite thing to do with Saryuja Skuldread, actually, guys, is to special summon the Star Seraph Scepter, trigger the Sovereignty, because rather than taking up your normal summon, you can special summon those guys out and then make the big play from there. But Saryuja Skuldread, huge, huge consistency booster, and definitely a great card. Now, one of my other favorites in the deck, and the other, sort of card that keeps the deck afloat, is Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. I made this card against the Cosmo player, with the idea that I wanted to bait out Cosmojos to kill the back row, because that's pretty much the only way that a Cosmo player or whatever can kill this card. I also ran this against the Cyber Dragon player that I played against as well. Just completely, most decks are completely unable to stop this if they don't side in the correct hate, and it's all depending on whether or not they draw it. This is a card that helps to seal the game, pretty much, and when it goes from the graveyard, when it goes to the graveyard, or when it even leaves the field, it gives a parting gift and allows you to send something that is on the field to the graveyard. Now, Boral Load Dragon. I never went into this card. I also never ran any Boral Swords or anything like that, but Boral Load Dragon, I never summoned Boral Load. But it's in here just for, like the reason of getting your opponent's stuff and non-target and decrease their attack power. Now, these are your two Saryuja guys, Link Spider and Imduk the World Chalice Dragon. You basically make these with your Shine Balls. Link Spider is actually a bonus. It's good because if you draw a Shine Ball, you don't have to pay the extra 500. You can use Link Spider's effect to special it from your hand. And Imduk is also the same way. Just monsters that you can use for different names. One copy of Reprodocus. Never went into this either, but it's a good card to have. Now, moving on, we've got the 4 Nightmares. Phoenix, Cerberus, Unicorn, and Griffin. Never went into any of these guys, but they all have, of course, very, very good uses. I usually didn't really like to discard too much. I almost went into Nightmare Griffin, but then ended up going into the Avramax instead. Thinking about what I want to do with the Nightmare guys when all things are said and done. Next, we've got one copy of Hip Hop Shingen. I have him in here as an extra fairy if you need to load up your graveyard for more plays with Kristia. Now, moving on to the XYZ monsters. These guys were the MVP. Satellar Knight Delteros and Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond of the XYZs. These are the only two that I went into for the day. But Delteros, as I told you, won me the match against the Unchained player, and I felt really bad about it because I ended up popping the exact cards that he did need for it. But Delteros was great all day, and you know, really made the Star Seraphs and stuff worth it. And then Diamond is actually really great against any kind of dark deck. You overlay into it during main phase 2, and basically prevents people from sending things to the graveyard and other deck plays and things like that. And this almost single-handedly won me the zombie match, which I did also feel pretty bad about because this was in here for the like Orcus players, which I might run across. And now finally, guys, the last two, which I didn't go into, were a copy of Dweller and a copy of Tornado Dragon. But guys, that's going to do it for this deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm hoping that Heralds are going to become a fantastic deck coming up into the brand new Master Rule. They're getting a ton of new support. It looks like Konami is really taking a focus back into rituals with the new Megalith archetype, so we could get some stuff that makes this deck insane. But as of right now, guys, this deck is just beyond consistent. It's very, very fun to play, and you know, it's not something that people are really used to seeing. And pretty much Christia carried the day for me and won me a lot of duels that perhaps I maybe should not have won, but it you know, it was good. And also, I will mention, guys, I had no side deck on the entire day, so it was just people were siding against me, and then I was just like, whatever. I don't build a side deck, because I always end up selling all the side deck cards. But guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please remember to give a like to the Team Time Riders YouTube channel, and tell us what kind of videos you guys like to see in the future. But guys, thanks so much for watching, and this is the Mermail Master signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.